during pitch once, and the client refused to pick stand up and stretch. I was like, okay.
Do we do the seventh inning stretch talk?
All right. Okay, you guys can sit down now. Yeah, don't leave. All right, we're going to talk about stickers and business. All right. So you met me earlier, Rob Manne from Inflectiv. I'm here with Patrick Heffron, the CFO of StickerYou. And I had a fancy bio that I could read about you, but how about if you introduced yourself?
Okay. First of all, I'm going to try and, it's probably...
It's not going to help.
I got a vocal cord thing going on here, so I'll do my best. Tell me about me. So I joined StickerYou 5 years ago. I'm officially CFO, also responsible for operations such as customer service, HR, various aspects, and it's an exciting business, selling stickers. It's just fun. Well, we're going through COVID, and my now wife is a public health nurse, so she was going life and death, and I'm like, what's the stickers? It was fun. So,
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about StickerYou's business. So e-commerce, it's B2B. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, so, variety depends on who our audience is, how we explain it, but we're an e-commerce business. I would say the problem we're solving is if you're a small, medium organization and you needed some stickers, decals, labels, you name it, you go to the Ford family business, they'd be like, okay, no problem, it's a $500 setup charge, how many colors do you want, right? $250 a color. Not us. You come to our website, you upload your image, any quantity from 1 to 10, 20, 30,000, right? Pick your size, your shape, your material, and 3 days later, it's out the door. We operate Eglinton and Caledonia, if you know Toronto. We got lots of printers, cutters, all that kind of stuff there, and that's how we operate.
Nice. So tell us how have you been using technology in your business?
So I guess the other context, because we're hearing context matters, we ship out about 500 to 600 orders a day, right? We are a high volume, low dollar, right? Our average order value is like $100, right? So B2B, a little bit B2C, right? And so technology is very important. The way we do what we do is on our platform, right? And therein lies one of the challenges. It's all custom built. Everything was developed in-house, right? We have no concept of a SKU. Everything is custom. We have an infinite number of SKUs every day, right? And so technology is at its core of what we do. Our journey, and I think here about customer service, right?
Yep.
That's probably been our biggest transformation. I'd say we didn't really use technology that much. We did the bare minimum needed until we realized it's not good enough, right? And so we started down a journey, ended up selecting HubSpot as a central, one source of truth for everything to do with customer service. But the other context here is, HubSpot at its core is a CRM. We all think of, I came from years at IBM, right? Pipeline meetings, right? Every week, $100,000 plus, opportunities. We have no concept of a pipeline. We don't have a sales team, right? We have a team that helps service customers, but they don't sell, right? So there's no concept of, what stage is that $100 transaction in? So we had a big sales effort trying to internally convince people that you may have sales in your title. You're not a salesperson, right? And that, at its core, you think about HubSpot, we had to go with, the service module, not the sales module.
Yeah.
And that was a huge battle internally.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that. I just wanted to share. You remember there was a slide from Mortgage Professionals of all the tech that they're using, which is like a lot. This is some of the tech that was in your stack before you looked at
Oh,
kind of consolidating?
Yeah. I mean, and highly relevant. So Help Scout, basic, right? Didn't really do much. Salesforce. We actually had Salesforce, paid, about $40,000 a year for it. Zero use. Like literally zero use. I couldn't find anybody in the company that told me this is what we're actually using it for that was of any value. So we had a huge transformation.
Yeah. So let's go back to customer service though for a minute. I love the story you were telling me before about you're the kind of guy that is on the phone with Bell trying to get a refund for something. Tell us why the CFO decided to make customer success a thing he wanted to champion.
A little bit like some of the stories earlier, passion, right? I am the kind of person from I don't know what age that when I got upset, I wrote letters. I picked up the phone and called. And it was a little bit of, if I'm going to leave you, I'm going to tell you why, right? And I do it more with Canadian companies because I try and make us, help make us stronger to beat the competition, right? And sometimes I get a resolution to what I want, and sometimes I don't, but in the process, hopefully I've opened up a few eyes. And so when the opportunity presented itself at StickerYou, I was like, no, I want to do better, right? Being CFO also brings a lens to this stuff, right? Like we're spending a whole lot of money on these tools and getting very minimal value from that, right? Let's get value from it. Mm-hmm. I entered the startup world over 15 years ago, and customer service and everything has been part of my portfolio since then. So the passion extended here. So
let's talk about momentum and you use the term single source of truth, which we love. It's come up a few times today. John was talking about getting momentum. You wanted to champion customer service a little bit more. Tell us, what did that look like internally?
Yeah, I would say, on our journey, we started at okay at best. Customer service was okay. When I joined the company, the number one thing I found on Google reviews was there's no phone number to call the company. Today, we still don't have a phone number, right? So I haven't won everything yet, but what we will do is we realize we're into a complex situation. We'll ask the customer to call us, or we'll get a number to call them. And therein lies a human challenge of getting people, usually younger people, to pick up the phone and call. Right? It amazes me how difficult this is. But that journey of transformation in terms of going from okay to at least good. Right, and I think we're approaching good, right? We can now measure how good are we doing, right? Like when a customer interaction is done, we send them a survey. How did we do? We didn't do that before we implemented the right foundation of tools, and so now we actually do okay. Okay, maybe we do good, right? But that's the start of, call it good to great. Next hurdle is convincing my colleagues we should be great, right? Customer service should be a competitive differentiator for us. And how do we get there, and how do we invest in the tools, the skills, the processes to do it?
Can you tell us a little bit more, before we get into the tech, which we'll do a little demo, can you talk about, you said the concept of the pressure that was in the study kind of resonated with you. Can you talk about, in addition to your interest in championing customer service, what kind of pressure was there with regards to AI or technology use in general?
Yeah, bluntly, our founder and CEO was very directive on, I want chat AI up and running.
Yesterday.
Yeah, right? Couldn't do it quick enough. Now, for me, this was a bit of I don't know how to program, right? I don't know how to do this. And I actually attended, many of you may be part of a peer scale, Ace Tech used to be. One of their sessions, I was a stand-in, and I came back from that so pumped on the potential of AI. And I came back, I'm like, oh, we got to do this tomorrow, right? And then reality sunk in. I was like, well, it's not something I can do. I need our dev team to help us. And then it was this realization that the number one question we get coming into customer service is, where's my order? Right? So I was like, I had to dig in, with our CEO and say, like, unless we're prepared to answer that question by plugging into our system to be able, we can't just say, oh, well, go here to find out the answer. No, we need to tell you exactly where that answer is. That was kind of our segue to getting the dev team engaged in this, right? So, to your core of your question, did I feel pressure? No, I felt a little bit of excitement, but I don't think the market was there yet. In that kind of pressure. Did I feel pressured? Absolutely, right? And we found the happy ground. I think had we done it right away, AI wasn't there yet, right? Certainly not, chat enabled. It was there. We used to use these offices, Wisdom AI, where we used AI, when we later called it that, to answer customer questions. And we had a team of 20 people training the system full time. This was before LLM. So I had context, right? But I think at the end of the day, we launched at the right time with the right tool. And here's the amazing part. I was the first person that if I went to a website and it was pushing me to chat, I'd be like, human, yeah. Right? Or on the telephone, I couldn't get off of their systems fast enough to talk to a person. All of a sudden, I saw what we could do. It changed my view on everything. Now I give every other company the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, I got to give this a shot. Because what I've learned is our AI bot, whatever you want to call it, is more accurate than our humans. Right? And that's amazing. It's a little bit sad, but amazing. It's the customer reviews on the AI chat is just as good as the human interactions. So all of a sudden it changed my view on how I'm even interacting and my behaviors in the market.
Well, that's a powerful metric, going back to what John was presenting around connecting your AI deployment or technology usage to metrics. Are there any other great findings like that you've used to socialize within the organization, either for AI or some of the customer success work that was done?
Yeah, I think the fact that we're now collecting meaningful data, right? We've actually made a transformation in the business to collect more data. We're much more a data-driven company now, but when we're on this hodgepodge of Snap Engage and Help Scout and everything, where the data's all in different systems, our argument to say, hey, we got a big problem with that product, and they're like, well, how big? I'm like, it's big. Right? That's all I could tell anybody. Right? It's like it seems to be very common, but now we have the data to say, here's how many customers every day come in with this complaint. Now we can address it.
Yeah, and I touched you because you got to show them your tattoo.
I'd have to roll up my sleeve.
Oh, okay. So
can't do it.
there's a number of products that StickerYou sells, and there's a tattoo that stays on a little longer than expected.
Yeah, we went customer data, right? The single biggest product we had consistent complaints of was temporary tattoos, and because everybody was like, they don't stay on in the water, and we would tell our product team a lot of customer complaints, but no data. I was like, just put a little no water symbol on the. Couldn't convince them. Eventually, we had the data. We convinced them. So anyhow, I'm contemplating a tattoo, my wife and I, and so I did a temporary tattoo to try it out over the weekend. I can't get it off. I had to Google our own website to figure out, because apparently I put it in the wrong spot. But I put a better one on. I'll show you at dinner. So, just for the record, it's only on my arm.
Sounds like you got a product that is a very free permanent tattoo.
Yes, pretty close.
Without the needles.
Yeah, it's crossed my mind to just do this every month and avoid all the complexity of getting it actually inked.
All right, so now we're going to just take a look at, and you're going to do a little show and tell for me. We're just going to go into the browser. And let's start with the chatbot because one of the things, I don't know if you guys can see, but after the RAG presentation, I thought, I'm going to ask the StickerYou chatbot if it could give me a tomato soup recipe. And the response was, I don't have the capabilities to provide recipes. Many of our customers create custom labels for their homemade products, like jars of tomato soup. Bravo.
That really is amazing. Like, the stuff you can, like, we played around when we were launching this. We're like, let's come up with the most crazy. God, this was cool what it would come up with. And then apparently other people, because we're relatively early as a very public site, we were doing this. We had some pretty bizarre things coming in. Clearly people were testing it, right, for very unusual reasons. But
So I mean, there's not much. I mean, we can certainly go through chats now, but I would love to just walk us through some of, like, what was the thinking behind it? What are some of the processes that you needed to create or build to enable this front end to look so good?
Yeah, so again, part of the pitch eventually my boss convinced me of too, like, this isn't cost savings, right? So I had to take off my CFO hat and wear my customer hat, right? This is about providing better service, right? Which means very accurate, very timely. We can do it, like, our team doesn't sit in the office 24/7, right? It's pretty much all here, right? And now all of a sudden we could answer customers' questions 24/7, right? Now there is the ability to hand off to a human if we need to, but all of a sudden this was very accurate, right? And 24/7 service pre-purchase and post-purchase, so customers are happier, which then ultimately contributes to a better lifetime value of customers.
That's a great point. So the team that sort of is responsible for a lot of the CS, I'm looking at Claudia there, would be assisted sales, meaning they've gone a certain way with e-commerce and then they reach a point that they don't finish their cart, so they've got some questions that keep them held up. And so this is a great use case whereby after 5 o'clock, nobody was able to get back to them for those comments until the next day, so this fills the gap and allows you to just increase your revenue velocity that way, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the other great lessons for us is, we have a dev team, everything goes through a pipeline and all this stuff. The reason this really moved forward quickly, we had one person who got very passionate about the idea and they worked on it off the grid. It wasn't in the roadmap, right? They did this, I think officially, they probably did their evenings and weekends because they were passionate about it, right? And that just made it amazing, right? And we got it done so much faster because we weren't into this backlog and prioritization and everything. And it's back to some of the stuff we were saying earlier. It's the passion, and it's the individuals and investing in the skills. And this person took it upon themselves, and that made all the difference.
Great. Okay. So the other thing we wanted to show you was, so we implemented HubSpot. So that's a CRM, as you were saying, and essentially the part that's being used, as Patrick said, isn't necessarily that sales funnel component. It's really, as they've made a purchase, they can issue tickets. And that gets back to the customer success team. So we want to tell us a little bit about sort of like, we're looking at a dashboard now. So tell me what's some of the data that you're looking at now that you weren't able to get before?
Well, so as we implemented chat, which is a huge portion of our volume, like, customers are like, if they're on your website, they don't want to wait for an email to be sent and returned. They want instant answers, and we've already made the decision right now anyhow, we're not going to give you a phone number. So chat becomes the next best option. So the fact that we actually now had this foundation, which was only implemented months before we went live with live chat, it was flowing in. So now we can, we're not like, oh, we get this many emails, and over here we can tell you how many chats we get. No, it's all in one foundational platform. And that's amazing. So, we can look at how many cases or how many tickets are we getting? Are they pre-purchase, post-purchase, right? Which then points us to, do we have a problem with our user experience online in the journey? Are they stumbling at certain spots? And we can fix that to help improve our conversion rate. Or do we have a product quality problem after the fact? We got to jump on that. So we can see the data around. I don't even know what that
We're
one
looking
is.
at volume.
Right. I don't know my glasses. But yeah, giving us the data. And then in terms of
survey results.
Yeah, the survey results. This is a big cultural shift. We went from a team who I'd say viewed their collective job as volume, quantity, get through the tickets every day, right? And now we're shifting it to be like, no, it's not quantity, it's quality. Right? How many times is it taking you to go back and forth with a customer before you actually answer a question to their satisfaction? And now we're going to measure how satisfied was the customer. This was a big, we never had this before, and we've had surprisingly low turnover on the team, which is phenomenal, right? But it also means change can be hard, right? So we're trying to change this behavior so that people go, oh, so it's not just, did I do 20 tickets today? It's, did I do 20 and the answers came back as that was terrible, or do I do 10 really good ones, right? And so shifting our culture and the team's focus around this has been really important, which becomes even more important with this threat of AI, right? And we've tried to go out and say, this isn't about job loss, right? And this is me wearing my CFO hat too. This is an investment so that we can grow the business without growing our costs at the same rate, right? It's not about reducing costs. We're growing. We just want to manage our costs to do more with less.
Yeah, and so what we're looking at here is survey responses to customer success by team members, which allows them to get a bit of friendly competition around CSAT response rates. Is there anything else on that side of it in terms of feeding back the feedback to employees or to doing it to improve performance, service levels?
It's more about change management, right? And it's across the business. It's not just the team that's impacted by this. It's even, Claudia and I's colleagues trying to convince them on what's important, right? And it's also I view this job isn't just about how are we doing on the tickets that we respond to. It's how do we reduce the number of tickets we get to begin with, right? So how are we stopping a problem before it happens, right? Pre or post purchase, right? And that doesn't always resonate among our colleagues, right? So there's a change management part here, but yeah, we love this page here, and we're still early stages in helping transform the mindset of people, that healthy competition. It's it's not okay to go, but my customer sat was 10 points lower than yours, but I answered 20% more tickets. Right? And trying to help people understand this is about quality first, quantity second, which is a 90 degree or 180 degree, whatever, from where we were.
The other way.
Which way that is, yeah.
And so before I move off of HubSpot, I just wanted to show you, so that we're looking at a dashboard, a lot of great data points, and I could talk about how it's all in one place so you can see it boil down to the individual customer. But what I just wanted to show you here, we have a lot of fancy dashboards that have been created by my colleague Jess, and with the team. But just on the right-hand side, there's sort of that AI functionality that's come in. So you're looking at Breeze, and we did a session with you guys last year where I asked Breeze, which is the AI assistant, the chat assistant within HubSpot, to say, who's the top performing customer service rep? And then it's sort of going through logically to determine, and of course, a lot of tickets are unassigned, so that was a problem. But yeah, it gave us a good answer. And so I've just been having this conversation with a couple other people. This concept of headless, which Scott knows really well from the digital world, is making its way to CRM. Salesforce had an announcement about their headless CRM, which essentially means that interface, which we're looking at now, is not necessarily going to be what we need to go through in order to access our data. We're going to have a lot more chat, a lot more voice, hopefully. So that's just something to be like. The dashboards are great, but we don't necessarily need to only rely on this dashboard.
Yeah, I mean, Claudia and I have played around, and at one point it was like, how do we export the data so we can put it in Chat GPT? Mm-hmm. And it's not that easy. Right, and then probably why, because they came out with Breeze, their own AI tool, right? But we envision the day of we don't have any standard reports, any dashboards necessarily that we look at. We have the questions we're asking, and it's telling us what's important for us to know.
Yep. Awesome. There's one, so we showed that. Now I just wanted to mention, one of the big things we were talking with Kendra was talking about the human dynamics or team dynamics. So this was a pretty big project that we worked on together, and just help me understand, this level of the different teams that existed within StickerYou, and we've struck a bit of a steering committee for that. And we just pulled this from our deck, which is why there's our images here. But just tell us how, socializing, engaging people early, as Kendra had talked about too, how important was that in this process?
Yeah. This journey was a very long one. It was frustrating how long it was, actually. But
in our defense, we got in halfway.
No. Yeah. Actually, in fairness, you wouldn't even know. The bigger part of the journey was selecting the tool to begin with.
That's right.
And convincing people that we need to get off this hodgepodge of other tools, right? And then it was okay, so we've selected HubSpot. Now we know enough to know we need help, right? And that's where you guys came in, and I would say, the steering committee was one thing. Well, the real risk here, and this is where having help was important, is any one of those parties, if they spoke up in a negative way, it risked killing the whole project, and that we roll back, right. To where we were, right? Because there was a lot of resistance to change here, right? Now, it wasn't likely to be customer service, but these associated parties. And so finding the right partner for us, because we're in the category of we don't know what we don't know, right? We knew we needed help, right? But finding the right partner to help us make sure that the implementation was successful. And it was at some point, I think we did a debrief, and I would say it's back to you wear the CFO hat, and it's well, what's the ROI, right? And every time you sit through a sales pitch, they're gonna be we can save you 3 people. No, you can't, right? Anybody who's ever gone through this, you're never gonna be able to point to the 3 people you let go after a system implementation. But what you can point to is we are better after. Right, and we're doing the same, and maybe we just feel more efficient, right? But it's a tough business case to measure, right? And at the end of the day, we're thank goodness we had the right implementation here, because that made all the difference. Because it's more. Claudia and I were talking this, right? What you don't see on this page or up here is the dev team. It is one of the only to this day major projects that we have implemented in the company without significant dev team involvement. And that was a huge win, because as soon as we're talking dev team, we're into pipeline and prioritization.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah. Right. Because it was that always gets focused on what's going to generate revenue, right? On the e-commerce side, right? User experience. Right? This always gets deprioritized, and that's why we had this hodgepodge of, okay tools at best.
So what's next? Where do you envision? We had a nice vision from John about where to go, digital business. Have you been thinking about what's next?
Well, to quote the book from the 70s or something like that, I'd say it's the good to great, right? We do have a vision that I would say customer service is our differentiator, right? We're getting to the point of so many things are commodities, right? We can have a great user experience online, right? But having better customer service, right, that then avoids the problems to begin with, even better, right? So I think that's probably the next journey, and personal kind of challenge is I would love to see us 100% or fully communicate with customers the way they want to communicate with us, which means having a telephone number, right? I mean, it sounds basic, right? But it is, you got to imagine, you come to the website and you're hey, it's not working, and you call us. Unless we really have the whole system to actually watch your screen, we're trying to help somebody visualize, oh no, click here. I get why we've taken this approach and why all of our competition has, but it doesn't change the fact that customers want to be able to talk to us. Now, the good news is, and part of my Envision sales pitch around this is, we can use AI to front end those calls. And this occurred, I got a call one day from, I visited a website, and I had a call, 5-minute call with a company, and basically said, no, you guys already visited me. And it was like the next day, I'm like, I don't think that was a human. Right? And I was like, oh my God, and it played out in my head. I was like, this was an AI call. But I didn't even know in the moment. And I hope we're that good, right? Because that'll give customers the full experience. Still the ability to hand off, but again, we've got all the training tools in place. So hopefully it's not too far away.
Should we open up for questions now, or?
Yeah, that was fantastic. I really appreciate sharing that story.
And particular thanks for Patrick for his scratchy voice. And
Yes,
still up in the speak.
Got the microphone calibrated there. So let us know if you have any questions. I'm going to take the first shot again. Metrics in the dashboard are pretty key and important to you. You've heard the phrase that like when the metric becomes the target, it's no longer a good measure. How often do you fall into that trap or is that a reality in your situation where you're so focused on what the dashboard is saying, you sort of lose the forest for the trees, or does that happen?
Thankfully, I don't think it's happened.
All right.
I think early on, very focused on the dashboard because we weren't sure if the data was accurate. And so we fine-tuned it along the way. I think we've got things now, it's like, it's stable, right? So now it's like, we look at it, it's stable. Okay, nothing's blowing up. That's the warning sign, right? If something was blowing up. Now it's about using the data to get better insights into what's going on with our business and what's going on with our customers. And so probably for the first time with actual legs, we've restarted a customer insights group among the leadership team. Hey, here's what's going on with our customers. And it sounds simple, but you'd be amazed how often we overlook it. Right? Yeah. And all too often in the past, without good data, these meetings fell flat. Right? Now we have the data, so it's become more meaningful.
You actually just touched on the point that I was going to bring up in a question, which is how have you considered leveraging AI and automation and so on to extend things further? But you brought it up in terms of the full customer experience, getting insights into the customers. So do you have a particular roadmap or thoughts on how you're going to execute that? Or how far into that kind of process are you in terms of not just wanting to get that data, but leveraging automation, AI-based tools to take the load off your team to get that in a systematic but low-cost way without sacrificing the quality of those results?
I'd love to say we're so sophisticated that we actually have a roadmap around this. We don't. We have ideas, right? And it's a little bit opportunistic, right? But it's also like if I actually said like we're really thinking about this, it's more about as we start looking at next year, right? We're not even looking 3 years down the road. As we look to next year and we see the businesses growing at a very healthy pace, how do we continue to support that growing business with the knowledge that, and I'm wearing two hats here, right, that we're only going to have a limited budget to support a growing business. How are we going to do that, right? And so I think that's more where it is. And every once in a while, it's one of the beauties of a smaller-ish company is we can experiment, right? It's like, okay, let's just try that. No, pull back. Very, very low consequence, especially if we've done it on a pilot kind of thing with somebody. It's our time, right? And, I think we do that a few times. We learn in the process. When we're ready to commit, we're more educated, maybe even a little more experienced when the time comes that we really think we need to do it.
Question in the back there.
processes. Well, your CEO said get it done, so how does he feel about it all?
Oh, he loves it. Like, he really does. We got it ultimately done on the, call it the revised timeline that he was looking for. But the results really were fantastic. I think we set a goal of, like, right from the gate, 60% of the tickets, completely resolved without a human interaction. And I think we're at 64% right from the gate, right? And honestly, that amazed me, right? So kudos to the team implementing this, right? Because I didn't think that was possible. But that goes to, building the wealth of training that goes into it and all of the testing, right? It wasn't like we're like, okay, it's done, and then it was at 60%, right? It did go into like a whole lot of testing first. So, but yeah, like very happy. And of course now, the bar keeps getting raised, right? Yeah.
So I found with our chat tool, it's not our AI chat tool, it's not the best at identifying potential leads or opportunities. And we've relied on staff like reviewing answers and then following up. So interested in how your has worked out for that. But also one other thing, I also find it's not the best at interpreting unsaid feedback or like potential risk. So for the tattoo example, someone might have asked, like, I'm just trying to use that as an example, do you sell waterproof tattoos? Did the AI know, just in this scenario, like I'm in B2B, so it's a little different, but would the AI be able to pick up on why they're asking that? Because they had the tattoo before and it washed off really quickly. So some of that like unsaid feedback and risk identification, as well as opportunity capture and being able to follow up on that. What's your experience?
So this is where I take comfort in the fact, at the end of the day, we sell stickers. Right? Like, every time I'm asked to sign like an insurance form or something like that, I'm like, really? Like, okay, you know what you're buying, right? Like, it's a sticker. So yeah, risk for us is relatively low, right? We do have assistance for sales opportunities. So I think human nature is, I'm about to buy $2,000 worth of stickers. I want to make sure it's okay. And so they do ask for more help, right? And that naturally gets kicked over to a human. And we do have an assistance team that does take over and will give customer like a proof ahead of time to make sure it's good. It's manual, right? But we're actually looking at ways to fix the process, automate the process, if you will. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're not dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollar size orders. We're doing stickers, right? Understanding who our customers are. Like, at the end of the day, if we got it wrong, it's not that big a deal to redo it for them. And if that means keeping them as a customer. The real risk is timeliness. Like, if they were planning on this delivery for a wedding and, on Saturday and we delivered it on Friday and it was wrong, yeah, we're not getting it to them overnight, through all of the processes. So sometimes that happens. But for example, we recently implemented a process where any order over a certain size, we call the customer to say thank you. Like, pick up the phone, and we had to find the right person to do that. But yeah, because it actually used to be me all the time. It was me picking up the phone. I still do, but it's thank you. And in the conversation, glean a little bit of insights, but get a sense of how sensitive is the timeliness of this order, right? So if it is a wedding coming up and it's like scheduled to arrive the day before, okay, pay a little more attention to this one internally.
It's like a very unemotional purchase until it's super, super emotional because something's gone wrong. Yeah.
Like my tattoos.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you both. Really appreciate the story and the insights.